So there's been some questions that come up from some of our members regarding the tribal beneficial uses, what was happening at the state level, at the regional level. Some of the work that we do can cross over to supporting tribal beneficial uses. So I reached out to our tribal affairs coordinator, and she provided me with this information. She was not able to provide us a presentation, but she gave me updates and information on the website so that I could share that with you guys. Okay, so that's a little background about why we have this presentation. So if you're not familiar with the term beneficial uses are goals that the water boards use to designate and ensure that our waters can be used at the highest level for a particular use so that we can achieve a beneficial use at the maximum extent possible. These beneficial uses can be drinking, recreation, navigation, wildlife habitat, wildlife corridor. When it comes to tribal beneficial uses, the Water Board recognizes that since time immemorial, California Native American tribes have used and in some cases continue to use water to support their cultural, spiritual, ceremonial, and or their traditional rites. So the beneficial uses would ensure that the water quality, safety can support those uses for individuals, households, communities of California tribes. This is for California waters. Tribes have their own ability to have designated beneficial uses for their waters and have a water quality goal set as well. And it can be higher than what the California Water Board has because they're different waters. We have California waters and we have tribal waters. So I just want to bring that out to the beginning so that there's no confusion. We're addressing waters of California in this presentation. And for more information, please go to the Water Board Tribal Affairs webpage. So what are the tribal beneficial uses here in California? Well, these are beneficial uses that can help protect the activities specific to Native American cultures and their uses of the waters here in California. So the purposes, again, are to protect the uses which are typically cultural, tradition, ceremonies, and lifeways. And lifeways can include going out and collecting materials from aquatic environments. So in 2017, the Water Board identified and described beneficial uses unique to California Native American tribes, in addition to subsistence fishing by other cultures or individuals. So it's in addition to. So how are these beneficial uses defined? Well, the Water Board came up with 3 designations. We have the tribal tradition and culture beneficial use, tribal subsistence fishing, and then subsistence fishing. So those are the 3 tribal beneficial uses that were defined in 2017 and that we're moving forward in addressing throughout the state. It's a multi-step process in order to recognize and support water quality goals for these beneficial uses throughout the state. The first is to prioritize tribal beneficial uses in the triennial review, and that's the water quality control basin plans. So it needs to get into the triennial review and making sure that those beneficial uses are in the basin plans. It's gathering information for the designations, designating water bodies or parts of a water body that address and to support tribal beneficial uses. Then, and only after we have water bodies designated, can we move on to establishing water quality objectives, numeric goals, narrative goals, and then putting together implementation plans and establishing how we will protect water quality, to support these beneficial uses in our permits and enforcement actions. And steps 1 through 3, those can be done all at the same time. So how are beneficial uses memorialized in each region? Well, the Water Board has been reaching out to tribes, to the community, and also working with the regional boards to do the same. So each of the regional boards has their own basin planning programs in which they will solicit information as part of their triennial reviews. And they can add one or more beneficial uses into the basin plan at those times. They can designate one or more water bodies for those beneficial uses, and then also making sure that the water quality goals support those beneficial uses at those sites as well. Well, incorporating the new beneficial uses and their definitions isn't automatic. They need to ensure that the water bodies are listed in the basin plans. Designating the new beneficial uses to those specific water bodies is the responsibility of all of the regional water quality control boards. And again, it's a public process. So to understand what's going on within your jurisdiction, you can participate in the process and subscribe to the emails to know when meetings are being held, when information is being shared. We do have the Office of Tribal Affairs up in Sacramento, and they're coordinating along with the regional board, but it's the regional board's responsibility to go through these processes that we outlined. And again, this is in addition to whatever may be happening on a tribe, because they have the requirement of implementing the Clean Water Act on their waters. So this is just, again, for state waters. So please contact your regional water quality control board. As Sarah mentioned before, that each of the 9 regions does have a tribal coordinator. If you visit the website down at the bottom, you can find out where each of the regional boards is within this process. The triennial reviews don't happen simultaneously. We have 3 years for each regional board to go through the process. And so those have all been offset, so we don't have all 9 at the same year. So at any point in time, you can jump in and see what's happening with the tribal beneficial uses within that particular region of interest. And if you want to be more involved, you can also contact the coordinator and let them know that you want to be involved. Now, the regional board recognizes all tribes that are recognized federally and those that are not. So it's a very, very open process for people to participate. And again, please go to the website for our Tribal Affairs program. They have this information and more is coming out so that people understand what tribal beneficial uses are and how they will be implemented into the regional water quality control plans. And there may be some work between the regions within our office, Tribal Affairs, and the network. Because we're trying to protect people that are engaged in recreational activities as the Safe to Swim network, but if there's water contact activities, they are going to be able to work with us as well, because some of the goals are the same. We want to keep the public safe when they're in state's waters. So with that, I'll end my presentation and open it up to any questions. I may be able to answer them. If not, I can forward them on to our Tribal Affairs unit and have them get back to you. Sarah, you have your hand up. Thank you. I'm sure you correct anything I did wrong or add to anything I did right.
No, it was a great presentation, but I did want to add something to it. There is, in the chat, I put the link to a tribal consultation document from Cali, PA, and I find that there's a very handy Appendix B, it starts on page 26 of that document, that lists the tribes, both federally and non-federally recognized, and the counties that they have connections to. So, and this is really helpful for especially for agency folks who might not realize that, there could be 4 or 5 or more tribes that have connections in terms of their traditional homelands to that county. And that means that they very well could be involved in tribal beneficial use development, which is basically, as you stated, Eric, identifying the water quality objectives and designating the water bodies for various water bodies throughout California. And in the identification of those water quality objectives, they're going to want to, basically develop those water quality standards that will be protective of tribal cultural uses, because that exposure scenario could look really different from recreation, in terms of how much water is being swallowed and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's nice to see that Appendix B that I have in the link there, where you can see the tribes that have stated connections to various counties to possibly know which tribes to link up with, or to know that, they might be working on tribal beneficial uses for water bodies in that county.
Sarah, maybe you can help me out with this. Some of the reservations have members of different tribes down here, especially in San Diego County. So how have folks been able to interact with the regional board and state board, others, if the tribe may be addressing something that they all share, but as an individual, I may be a member of 1 or 2 cultural groups that have an interest, but it's not being reflected through the formal agency. Well, I know that they're saying that we can participate outside of the tribe because they want to look at everybody and all their cultural uses. Have you experienced anything like that?
So you're referring to Native Americans who or California Native Americans who might have a difference of opinion about cultural uses from their tribe? Is that what you're referring to, or?
Yeah, because sometimes there's multiple tribes on a reservation. It's a shared property.
Well, I think that's one of the challenges of tribal beneficial use development is not only the scenario that you're talking about, where you've got these multi-tribal, like Pitt River, there's multiple tribes there. Round Valley, there's multiple tribes there that are kind of under one umbrella, but they still might have very different traditions and cultural uses. But that's also the case for even, on Clear Lake, where we've got 7 federally recognized tribes that use this watershed that are in this county, and there are more tribes outside of the county who also use Clear Lake. And I think that's the challenge. Yeah, that you're going to have different uses, different water quality objectives potentially, and I don't think anybody is there yet, because the water quality objectives haven't really been defined in terms of kind of where tribes are working on these, on that development. But I'm assuming that the regional board would choose the most stringent standards for the cultural uses of an area. But I think we're all learning as we go with the development of this one. Not many water quality objectives or beneficial uses actually have been added to, the Clean Water Act implementation that California has. It's pretty rare thing. Most of them were adopted back with the Clean Water Act. So new stuff. So I suggest, if there are any California Native Americans who are not, who want to be heard, they definitely should reach out to the tribal coordinators of the region. But I do know that the definitions for water quality or for tribal beneficial uses does talk about California tribes, and I do believe they're kind of looking more at governmental entities, the tribal governments, but I don't think that means that they won't listen to individuals. So they should just reach out to the tribal coordinator.
Yeah, I've been told that we will listen to anybody, if it's just one person. Yeah, how that comes out, I don't know. But I'm glad that everybody has a voice. And I'm hopeful that we will listen. Before the meeting I started, I received a phone call from somebody at EPA asking about whether or not any tribes have beneficial uses with a more stringent water quality goal than the state has for that same beneficial use. I haven't returned the phone call yet, but it may be one of those things where they're different waters, they're different types of activities. The discussion that you kind of brought up, it gets complicated, and that's not what I work in. We're just trying to share this information. A lot of our members, you guys are public health officers. You're implementing, water quality to make sure that you can meet the beneficial uses where you have responsibilities. So I hope that this presentation is helpful to you and you can anticipate and participate in this process. And it's been great to hear some of Sarah's experiences. They're very different than what I would have, because we have different jobs and different roles in the water quality world. So thank you for sharing. Do we have any other comments or questions about this? I don't see any hands up. So I hope that answered questions that people had. And then again, please reach out to the Regional Quality Control Board Tribal Coordinator so that you can get plugged into what's happening.